My name is Ethan Carter, and this is the story of how love, trust, and family can all turn into poison. I still remember the first time I saw Lena. It was at my cousin's engagement party. She was the maid of honor, standing there in a light blue dress, laughing at something my cousin said. She had this effortless charm, this way of drawing people in. I remember thinking, that smile could heal the dead. I wasn't the type to believe in love at first sight, but that night, I found myself talking to her for hours. We shared stories about our childhood, our goals, our fears. She told me she wanted a life filled with forever things, forever love, forever loyalty, forever trust. It sounded cheesy back then, but I believed her. And for years, it really did feel like forever. Lena and I got married 2 years later. The wedding was small, but beautiful, white roses, string lights, and that same blue dress she wore the night we met. My brother, Ryan, was my best man. He gave a toast about how lucky I was to find someone like her. He called us the golden couple. Ryan and I were close. He was only a year younger than me, funny, confident, the kind of guy people instantly liked. But he always said I was the lucky one because I found Lena first. Life was good, at least for a while. We bought a little house in the suburbs. I worked as an architect, Lena as a freelance photographer. Our lives were busy, but we made time for each other. Movie nights, road trips, long talks on the porch. She'd always say, "No matter what happens, we'll always be us, Ethan. Forever. Forever." That word feels like a knife now. The first sign of change came after Ryan's divorce. His wife left him suddenly, claiming he was too focused on work. Ryan was devastated. So naturally, Lena and I invited him to stay with us for a while. At first, it felt like old times, 3 people laughing around the dinner table, sharing jokes from our childhood. Ryan would help Lena with her photography gigs, sometimes carrying her equipment or driving her to shoots when I couldn't. I thought nothing of it. Why would I? She was my wife. He was my brother. But slowly, things began to shift. It started small, little things that didn't add up. I'd come home from work and find them talking quietly in the kitchen, their conversation stopping the moment I walked in. Lena started dressing differently, putting in more effort even on days she said she was just working from home. When I asked, she'd laugh it off. "You're being paranoid, Ethan. I just like looking good for myself." Then came the phone habits. She'd take her phone everywhere, even to the shower. When it rang, she'd glance at it quickly, smile faintly, and say, "It's just work." Still, I trusted her, because that's what you do when you love someone. You trust them, even when your gut whispers otherwise. One night, while I was working late on a design project, Lena texted me, "Don't wait up for me, babe. Ryan and I are checking out a new spot downtown for a shoot tomorrow. Just scouting locations." I smiled at the message. She was always so dedicated to her work, but around midnight, when I got home, her car wasn't in the driveway. Neither was Ryan's. A strange unease crept over me. I brushed it off. Probably got caught up working late, I told myself. But when they returned at almost 2 a.m., laughing quietly as they tiptoed through the hallway, something inside me cracked a little. The next morning, I confronted her gently. "Lena, you didn't mention you'd be gone that late." I was worried. She looked at me, her face perfectly calm. "Ethan, it was nothing. We were just grabbing a late bite after the shoot. You trust me, right?" And I did. God help me, I still did. But something had shifted between us. She became distant. Her eyes didn't light up when she saw me anymore. Our conversations grew shorter, colder. When I tried to hold her, she flinched, just slightly, but enough for me to feel it. A week later, I walked in on something that burned itself into my memory. It was a Sunday afternoon. I had come home early from a site visit, expecting to surprise Lena with lunch. I called her name, but there was no answer. As I walked past the living room, I saw Ryan's jacket thrown over the couch. My heart skipped. He hadn't mentioned coming over. Then I heard voices upstairs, muffled, too close. I froze. One voice was hers. The other was his. I couldn't make out the words, but I didn't need to. The tone said enough. Laughter. Whispers. Then silence. I should have walked away right then, but instead, I found myself walking toward the sound, my heart pounding so loud it drowned everything else. When I reached the door, I placed my hand on the knob. And then, the floor creaked beneath my foot. The laughter stopped. A few seconds later, Lena opened the door. She was fully dressed, her expression calm, but her face went pale when she saw me standing there. Ethan, you're home early. Behind her, Ryan appeared, shirt half buttoned. The world went silent. I wanted to scream, to demand answers, to tear something apart, but I couldn't move. Ryan opened his mouth to speak, but I didn't hear him. I turned around and walked out of the house. The cool air hit my face like a slap, but it wasn't enough to wake me from the nightmare that had just begun. That night, Lena came to me in tears, insisting nothing had happened, that it was a misunderstanding, that Ryan had come over to help her fix a broken light fixture. I wanted to believe her. God knows I did. But Ryan avoided me for days. He wouldn't even look me in the eye. And when I finally confronted him, he just said, "It's not what you think, Ethan," before walking away. But his trembling voice told me it was exactly what I thought. Still, I needed proof. I couldn't accuse them without it. So I decided to find out the truth on my own, because deep down, I knew this wasn't over. Not by a long shot. That night, I installed a hidden camera in our living room, never realizing the truth I'd uncover would destroy everything I ever believed in. I didn't sleep that night. I lay in bed beside Lena, staring at the ceiling while she slept soundly next to me, her breathing calm, her hand resting inches from mine. It was almost impossible to believe this was the same woman whose laughter had filled my days, whose promises once defined my life. But something inside me had changed. I wasn't the same trusting husband anymore. I was a man desperate for the truth, no matter how ugly it might be. The next morning, I acted normal. I kissed her on the forehead before leaving for work. She smiled faintly, like nothing was wrong. But behind that smile, I saw something, a flicker of guilt, maybe fear. I left the house, parked my car a few blocks away, and returned quietly an hour later. The tiny camera I'd installed the night before was hidden in the living room clock. It wasn't anything fancy, just a small motion-activated recorder connected to my phone. When I set it up, I prayed it would prove me wrong, that I was just a paranoid husband seeing ghosts in the shadows. But deep down, I already knew the answer. That day felt endless. Every time my phone buzzed with a notification from the camera, my heart jumped. Most of it was harmless, Lena walking around the house, working on her laptop, taking calls. But around 4 p.m., a familiar sound echoed through the feed. The front door opened, and Ryan walked in. He wasn't carrying tools, or anything that would suggest he came to help her this time. He just strolled in like he belonged there. Lena looked up from the couch and smiled, a real smile, the kind she hadn't given me in weeks. "Hey," she said softly. Ryan stepped closer. "Missed me?" My blood went cold. They talked for a while, about trivial things at first. Then the conversation shifted. Lena sighed. "He's been distant lately. I can feel him watching me, Ryan. I think he suspects something." Ryan rubbed his face. "You knew this couldn't last forever, Lena." Her voice cracked. "I didn't mean for any of this to happen. I feel alive when I'm with you." And then, without hesitation, she leaned in and kissed him. I froze. My hand went numb around the phone. It was one thing to suspect betrayal, It was another to see it unfold in front of you. In the house you built together. I watched, every second burning like acid, as they kissed again, longer, deeper, like two people who'd done this many times before. I dropped the phone. The screen cracked, but I barely noticed. My vision blurred with tears and rage. I wanted to storm home that instant, to throw them both out, to make them feel even a fraction of the pain they'd caused me. But another part of me, the colder, more calculating part, told me to wait. If I confronted them now, they'd deny everything. They'd spin lies and excuses. No, I needed them to reveal the truth themselves, to feel caught. So I waited. The next few days were torture. I played my part, pretending everything was fine, going to work, laughing at her jokes, kissing her goodnight. Meanwhile, every moment we spent together felt like a lie. Each night, I checked the footage. Sometimes Ryan came over for an hour, sometimes longer. They were careful, but not careful enough. Once, I caught them holding hands on the couch, whispering like teenagers. Another time, he brushed a strand of hair from her face, and she smiled in that soft way that used to be mine. It felt like watching my own heart being carved out, piece by piece. Finally, one Friday evening, I decided I'd had enough. Lena had told me she was going to a photography exhibition downtown. I knew it was a lie, the same lie she'd been using for weeks. So I followed her. I kept a few cars behind, my pulse pounding as I watched her pull into Ryan's apartment complex. She parked, adjusted her hair in the mirror, and walked up to his door. He opened it immediately, and the way they looked at each other. There was no hesitation, no guilt, just passion. I gripped the steering wheel until my knuckles turned white. Every rational thought in my head screamed at me to leave, but I couldn't. I needed to see. I needed to feel the betrayal to believe it. They went inside, and I waited in the car for what felt like hours. When she finally came out, her hair was messy, her clothes slightly wrinkled. She looked around nervously before getting into her car. At that moment, I realized the woman I married no longer existed. I drove home in silence. When Lena came in later that night, I was sitting at the dining table with the lights off. She jumped when she saw me. "Ethan, you scared me. Why are you sitting in the dark?" I stared at her for a long moment. "Where were you?" She hesitated, just for a second. "At the exhibition, remember?" I leaned back. "You sure about that?" She frowned. "Of course I'm sure. Why are you asking?" I didn't respond. I just slid my phone across the table toward her. Her eyes flicked down to the cracked screen, and then widened. The video was playing. Her and Ryan. She froze. The color drained from her face. "Ethan, I can explain." "Don't." I cut her off. My voice was low, shaking with anger. "I want you to think very carefully before you open your mouth, Lena. Because whatever comes out next will decide everything." She looked terrified. "I didn't mean to hurt you," she whispered finally, tears welling up. "I swear, it just happened. Ryan was there when you weren't, and I—" "Stop." I slammed my hand on the table. "He's my brother, Lena. My own flesh and blood. You could have picked anyone in the world, and you chose him?" Her sobs filled the silence. "I'm sorry, Ethan. I didn't want it to go this far. I still love you. I swear I do." "Love?" The word tasted bitter now. I stood up slowly. "No, Lena. You don't love me. You love the thrill, the attention, the secrecy. You love what he gives you that I don't." She covered her face with her hands. "Please, don't tell him I said that." That made me stop. I turned back toward her. "Don't tell who what?" She froze, realizing her mistake too late. I stepped closer, my voice ice cold. "What exactly shouldn't I tell him, Lena?" She shook her head frantically. "It's nothing. Forget I said that." But the look in her eyes told me otherwise. There was something more, something she wasn't telling me. and I intended to find out what it was. The next day, I discovered a hidden message on Ryan's phone that revealed their affair wasn't the only secret they'd been keeping from me. I barely slept that night. My mind kept replaying the footage, the way she smiled at him, the way he touched her face like she was his. It was burned into my brain, and every time I closed my eyes, I saw it again. But there was something worse gnawing at me. What Lena said before I walked away. Please, don't tell him I said that. Those words stuck like a splinter in my head. What was she hiding? What did she mean? By morning, I knew I couldn't just sit there and wonder. I needed answers. Ryan had been avoiding me since that night. Normally, he'd come by every few days, but now, nothing. No calls, no texts, just silence. So I drove to his apartment. When he opened the door, he looked like he hadn't slept either. His eyes were bloodshot, and the guilt on his face was unmistakable. Ethan, I didn't expect. Yeah, I cut in. I'm sure you didn't. He stepped aside quietly, letting me in. The apartment smelled like stale beer and regret. I turned to him, keeping my voice calm. I know, Ryan. About you and Lena. He didn't even try to deny it. His shoulders slumped as if a weight had finally been dropped. I'm sorry, he said, his voice low. I didn't plan for it to happen. I swear, Ethan. She was lonely. You were busy. And I made the worst mistake of my life. I clenched my fists, trying to keep my temper from exploding. You didn't just make a mistake, Ryan. You destroyed everything I had. He nodded, eyes filled with shame. I know, and I'll regret it forever. For a moment, I actually believed him. Until my gaze drifted to his coffee table. That's when I saw it. A phone. Not his regular one. It looked newer, sleeker. He noticed me looking and immediately stepped in front of it. What's that? I asked. Just a backup, he said quickly. Too quickly. Something in his tone made me suspicious. I'd seen enough lies lately to recognize one. While he turned away, I moved fast, snatching the phone off the table. Ethan, wait. I didn't. It wasn't locked. Maybe fate wanted me to see it. I opened his messages. And there it was. A conversation between Ryan and Lena. But it wasn't what I expected. It wasn't about their affair. It was about money. Lena, he's going to find out soon. What if he checks the accounts? Ryan, he won't. Just make sure he doesn't suspect you. We only need one more transfer and we're clear. Lena, you promise this will be enough for both of us to leave? Ryan, trust me. Once the money's in my account, we disappear. Together. My chest tightened. Money? Disappear? It wasn't just betrayal of love. It was theft. I scrolled further. There were weeks' worth of messages, talks about moving funds, closing the joint account, timing the transfers. They were planning to rob me. I turned toward Ryan slowly. You were planning to take my money? He swallowed hard. Ethan, please, don't you dare lie to me again. I snapped, slamming the phone down on the table. You were sleeping with my wife and planning to drain my accounts. It's not like that, he said weakly. You don't understand. She said you were controlling her, that she wanted to leave but couldn't. I laughed bitterly. So your brilliant idea was to run away with her and my money? That's your excuse? He looked down, ashamed but silent. I could feel the anger boiling inside me, but I forced myself to stay calm. You're going to tell me exactly how much you took and where it is. Ryan hesitated. Not much yet. Maybe 10, 15,000. But she wanted more. She said she couldn't leave until the house sold. My jaw clenched. The house, the one I bought. He nodded slowly. I stared at him for a long, cold minute. You disgust me, Ryan. I don't even know who you are anymore. He tried to speak again, but I walked out before he could. I needed to confront Lena. When I got home, Lena was in the kitchen, making coffee like nothing had happened. Where were you? she asked softly, as if she hadn't ripped my life apart. At your lover's apartment, I replied flatly. She froze, the color draining from her face. I placed Ryan's phone on the counter between us. You want to explain this? Her hands trembled. Ethan, You what? You accidentally planned to steal from me? You accidentally told him we'd sell the house? Tears filled her eyes. I didn't mean for it to go that far. Ryan said we'd take a small amount and pay it back once we got settled. I was scared, Ethan. You were so focused on work, and I felt invisible. I stared at her in disbelief. Invisible? So your solution was to rob me blind with my own brother? She broke down, sobbing. I was stupid, okay? I didn't know what I was doing. I thought Ryan cared about me. But he's not who I thought he was either. Neither are you, I said coldly. I turned to leave, but she grabbed my arm. Ethan, please. Let me fix this. I'll get the money back. I'll end everything with him. Just don't throw me out. Her voice cracked with desperation, and for a moment, I almost pitied her. Almost. That night, I couldn't think of anything except revenge. Not the kind that lands you in jail. No. I wanted them both to feel what I felt, to lose what I'd lost. So I came up with a plan. The next morning, I called Ryan. We need to meet, I said calmly. One last time. No yelling. No fighting. I just want closure. He hesitated. You sure? Yeah. Let's end this the right way. He agreed. But I didn't tell Lena. She thought I'd gone to work. I didn't. I met Ryan at a small cafe outside town. I brought something with me, a folder full of bank statements, transfer records, and screenshots from his messages with Lena. When he saw it, his face went pale. What's this? He asked. Proof, I said. Enough to ruin both of you. But I'm giving you one chance to come clean before I go to the police. He sat back, his jaw tightening. You wouldn't. I leaned forward. Try me. He looked at me for a long time before sighing. Fine. We took it. But it was her idea, Ethan. She said you had plenty, that you wouldn't even notice. I was just stupid enough to believe her. I stared at him, disgusted. You'll transfer every dollar back by tonight, or I'll make sure both of you answer for it. He nodded, defeated. Okay. I'll fix it. I left the cafe feeling strangely hollow. For the first time, I realized something terrifying. I wasn't even angry anymore. I was just done. Done with her. Done with him. Done with pretending. But when I got home that night, Lena was gone. So was her car. And all the cash I kept in my office safe vanished. As I stood in that empty house, my phone buzzed with a new message from an unknown number. It was a photo of Lena with Ryan, boarding a plane together. For a moment, I couldn't move. The message stared back at me, glowing on the cracked screen of my phone. A single photo that shattered the last fragments of hope I'd been clinging to. There they were, Lena and Ryan, standing at the airport, their faces partially covered by sunglasses, their bodies close, boarding a flight, together. The caption below the photo read only 2 words. They're leaving. No sender name. No explanation. Just that. My mind spun. Who sent it? How did they know? Was it someone who'd seen them? A friend? A stranger? But those questions didn't matter. What mattered was that they were gone, and they'd taken everything. I rushed into my office and flung open the safe. Empty. Every last dollar gone. I checked my accounts online, withdrawals, transfers, transactions I hadn't authorized. Thousands. My savings, my emergency fund, even part of the mortgage account. All siphoned off into a trail of new accounts I didn't recognize. They'd cleaned me out. The betrayal no longer felt like a wound. It was an amputation. A part of me had been cut off, and I could still feel the bleeding. I sank to the floor, my hands shaking. All I could see was Lena's face when she said, "I didn't mean for it to go this far." Liar! She meant every word, every action, every kiss, every stolen dollar. And Ryan, my own brother, he'd looked me in the eyes, promised to make it right, all while planning his escape. That's when it hit me. That photo. Someone wanted me to know. Someone out there had seen them. I wiped my tears and looked again at the image. The terminal number was visible behind them. Gate 17, JFK Airport. That meant they hadn't left long ago. If I was fast enough. Maybe, just maybe. I grabbed my jacket, my car keys, and drove like a madman through the city. My heart pounded with every red light, every passing minute. By the time I reached the airport, my mind was buzzing with rage, fear, and adrenaline. I didn't have a plan, just a single thought echoing through me. They won't get away. I parked near the departures area and ran inside, scanning the screens. Gate 17, Flight 264 to Lisbon. Boarding. Now. I sprinted down the terminal, my chest heaving, people staring as I shoved past them. And then, at the end of the hallway, I saw them. Lena Ryan. Standing in line, passports in hand, like a couple without a care in the world. She had dyed her hair darker. He had grown a beard, but I'd have recognized them anywhere. The rage hit me like a wave. Lena. She turned, her face going pale the moment our eyes met. Ryan stepped protectively in front of her. "Ethan, wait," he started, but I wasn't listening. I stormed up to them, every muscle in my body trembling. "You really thought you could just run?" I hissed. "After everything you've done?" People were watching now. Travelers slowed. Security guards took notice. But I didn't care. Lena's voice shook. "Ethan, please. We didn't mean for you to find out like this." "Find out?" I laughed bitterly. "Oh, you mean discovering my wife and my brother robbing me blind and flying off to paradise?" "Yeah. What a surprise." Ryan held up his hands. "Calm down, okay? We'll give the money back. We just needed time to." I cut him off. "Don't you dare say you needed time. You had years. You had my trust. And you threw it all away." A guard approached cautiously. "Sir, I need you to lower your voice." But I couldn't. "Not now. Do you have any idea what you've done to me?" I demanded, my voice cracking. "You took everything, my money, my home, my marriage. And you did it together. My wife and my brother." Lena's lip trembled. "Ethan, I never wanted to hurt you. I couldn't live in your shadow anymore." Her words sliced through me. "My shadow," I repeated. "You had everything. A home, love, security, and you traded it all for this?" I gestured at Ryan, who was staring at the floor like a guilty child. "Don't make this worse than it already is," Ryan muttered. "We just wanted to start over." I stepped closer, lowering my voice so only they could hear. "Start over? You think you can build a new life on lies? You think you can run from what you've done?" Lena's eyes darted nervously toward the guards. "Ethan, please. Just walk away." But I didn't move. I pulled a folded paper from my jacket, a printed copy of the police report I'd filed earlier that morning. "I already did the one thing you didn't expect," I said coldly. "I told the authorities. Your accounts are flagged. You won't be able to fly anywhere." Ryan's face went white. "You wouldn't." "I already did." Right on cue, 2 airport officers appeared beside the gate, holding up their badges. "Ryan Carter? Lena Carter?" one of them asked. "We need you both to come with us." Lena gasped, turning to me in disbelief. "Ethan, what did you do?" "I gave you a chance to make things right," I said quietly. "You chose to run." She started to cry, reaching for me. "Please, Ethan. You don't understand. He made me do it. Ryan, he said you were controlling, that you'd ruin me if I left." Ryan's head snapped toward her. "Are you kidding me, Lena? You're the one who planned everything. And just like that, they turned on each other. Right there, in front of everyone, their so-called love crumbled. Lena screamed at him, accusing him of manipulating her. He shouted back that she was lying, that it was her idea from the start. It was pathetic. Two snakes devouring each other. I just stood there, watching the chaos unfold as the officers separated them. For the first time in weeks, I felt calm, empty, but calm. As they were led away, Lena looked back at me, her eyes wide, pleading, "Ethan, please. I still love you." I shook my head. "No, Lena. You loved what I gave you, not who I am." She broke down crying as they disappeared through the terminal doors. Hours later, I sat in my car in the airport parking lot, staring out at the planes taking off into the night sky. The police called to confirm both Lena and Ryan were in custody for financial fraud and identity theft. My stolen funds were being traced. But no victory felt good enough, because even if I got every cent back, I'd lost something I could never replace: my faith in love, in family, in forever. I thought about our wedding day, about her blue dress, her vows. "No matter what happens, we'll always be us, Ethan. Forever, forever." Ended the moment she chose him. I started the engine, the ache in my chest dull but steady. I wasn't sure where I was going. Maybe home, maybe nowhere. But as I drove out of that parking lot, I told myself one thing. They took my money, my peace, my heart, but they would never take my life. And I would rebuild. Not for her, not for Ryan, but for me. Or at least, that's what I thought. Because 3 days later, I got another message. A video this time. Ryan, sitting in an interrogation room, looking straight into the camera. And what he said next changed everything I thought I knew about what really happened. Ryan leaned forward in the video and whispered, "Ethan, it wasn't just about the money. You need to know who really planned all of this." I must have watched that video 10 times before I realized I was holding my breath. Ryan looked pale, tired, defeated. But there was something else in his eyes too. Fear. He was sitting in what looked like a police interrogation room, hands cuffed to the table. A single camera was recording him. He leaned forward, glanced at someone off screen, and whispered, "Ethan, it wasn't just about the money. You need to know who really planned all of this." Then the screen cut to black. No further explanation. No names. No closure. But those words, "who really planned all of this," echoed in my head like a warning. I thought I already knew the whole story. Lena and Ryan betrayed me, stole my money, and tried to run. What more could there possibly be? Apparently, a lot more. The next morning, I called the detective in charge of their case, Detective Collins, a sharp, no-nonsense woman who'd been leading the investigation. "Detective," I said, trying to keep my voice steady, "I received a video of my brother in custody. He mentioned there was someone else involved. Can I see him?" She hesitated. "That's complicated, Mr. Carter. Ryan's been requesting to speak with you. But I wanted to prepare you first." "Prepare me for what?" There was a pause. "He's claiming that your wife wasn't the mastermind, that she was working with someone else. Someone close to you." My heart sank. "What do you mean?" "Come down to the station," she said quietly. "It'll be easier if you hear it from him yourself." When I arrived, the air in the police station felt heavy. Officers moved quietly through the halls, their radios crackling faintly. Detective Collins led me to a small observation room. Through the one-way glass, I saw Ryan sitting there, his wrists cuffed, his face drawn. He looked up the moment he sensed me. His expression wasn't angry or arrogant anymore. It was hollow, remorseful. "Are you ready?" the detective asked. I nodded slowly. They brought me into the room, and for a long moment, neither of us spoke. Finally, Ryan sighed. "You look terrible, Ethan." "Spare me the small talk," I said coldly. "You said there was something I needed to know. Start talking." He rubbed his temples. I didn't plan this alone. And neither did Lena. She was just the middleman. Middleman for who? Ryan hesitated, then looked straight into my eyes. For your business partner, Daniel Ross. I froze. Daniel Ross, my colleague of 8 years. My supposed best friend at the architecture firm. We'd built projects together, shared client accounts, even spent holidays as families. What are you talking about? I asked, my voice tight. Daniel had nothing to do with this. Ryan nodded toward the folder on the table. He did. He approached me first. Said he wanted access to your firm's funds. Told me he could use Lena to get inside your home network, your passwords, your banking info, everything. I stared at him, stunned. You're lying. I wish I was, Ryan said quietly. He said you were planning to cut him out of a major deal. He wanted leverage. He promised me a big payout if I played along. I was stupid enough to listen. Then Lena got pulled in, at first to help. Then she got emotionally involved. I shook my head, disbelief flooding through me. No. Daniel's been my friend for years. He wouldn't. Ryan's voice cracked. He would. He used us both. When Lena told him she was having doubts, he told her to take what she could and disappear. That's why she ran, Ethan. She was terrified of him. My stomach twisted. It all started making sense. The sudden interest Daniel had in my finances, the way he'd pushed me to share account access for convenience, the project delays he blamed on system errors, and Lena's last words before the arrest. You don't understand. He made me do it. I thought she meant Ryan. But what if she didn't? Detective Collins stepped in then. We've been investigating Mr. Ross as well. Several offshore accounts linked to your stolen funds trace back to his name. It appears he used your brother and your wife as pawns. I felt sick. So Daniel's the real thief. Yes, she said. But he's gone. Disappeared 2 days ago. Likely fled the country before we could issue a warrant. I sank into the chair, running a hand through my hair. Everything I'd known, my wife, my brother, my closest friend, it was all a web of betrayal. Ryan spoke again, his voice low. I'm not asking for forgiveness, Ethan. I know I don't deserve it. But I needed you to know it wasn't all her fault. She loved you once. She really did. I looked up at him, my anger dimming to a hollow ache. Then why destroy me? He shook his head slowly. Because Daniel promised her a new life. She thought she was running from you. But she was really running right into his trap. After the interview, I drove home in silence. The sun was setting, painting the sky in colors that felt too beautiful for the mess my life had become. When I reached my driveway, everything felt wrong. The same house. But no laughter, no warmth, no us. I sat on the porch steps, staring into the distance, trying to process it all. Lena, Ryan, Daniel. 3 people I trusted most, all conspiring, lying, betraying. And yet, oddly enough, I didn't feel anger anymore, just exhaustion. A few days later, I got a letter. No return address. No name. Just my name, written in Lena's handwriting. My heart raced as I opened it. Inside was a short note. If you're reading this, it means you found out everything. I'm sorry. I was weak. I got caught up in something I couldn't control. Daniel used me, and when I tried to back out, he threatened my life. I never stopped loving you. I just lost my way. Please don't remember me as the woman who betrayed you, but as the one who once dreamed of forever with you. I don't know where I'm going, but I hope someday you can forgive me. Lena. I read it over and over, my vision blurring with tears. I didn't think I had left. There was no address, no clue where she was. Maybe she'd escaped Daniel. Maybe she was still running. Maybe she'd never be found. But for the first time, I didn't care about revenge anymore. I'd been chasing closure, but maybe closure wasn't something you find. It's something you decide. 6 months later, I sold the house and moved to a quieter town. I started a new architecture firm, alone this time. I built slowly, piece by piece, foundation by foundation. And one evening, as I watched the sunset from my new porch, I realized something profound. Betrayal doesn't destroy you, it reshapes you. The pain doesn't vanish, but it stops owning you, because in losing them, I found me. And maybe that was the only forever that ever really mattered. They say the people closest to you can cut the deepest. My wife betrayed me. My brother deceived me. My best friend robbed me. But in the end, I learned something priceless. Trust can be broken. Love can be lost. But strength is rebuilt, one scar at a time. THE end.